A Category 5 salacious storm hitting the Trump trial. Jurors finally getting to hear from adult film actress Stormy Daniels after she gave testimony so raunchy it would make a porn star blush and the media laugh.
My basic feeling is like, wow, this is a colorful, maybe hyper-colorful witness.
Daniels says she told Trump of the magazine, "Someone should spank you," with that. I'm sorry, Anthony.
He was wearing silk or satin pajamas.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. This is serious. No, I'm sorry. I just had to laugh.
I can't believe I have to read this on television. It's not going to involve any descriptions.
Better you than me, Jake.
It's not going to involve any descriptions of anything in particular. So
just read it. Read it on the screen.
Stormy Daniels is at the heart of Alvin Bragg's falsified business records case against Donald Trump, and today she described in great detail the alleged sexual encounter in 2006 that the former president denies ever took place. Her account was so tawdry that Trump's lawyers called for a mistrial, arguing it was designed to inflame the jury and embarrass the former president. But the judge slapped down the motion. Here is the former president.
A very big day, a very revealing day. As you see, their case is totally falling apart. They have nothing on books and records, and even something that should bear very little relationship to the case. It's just a disaster for the DA, for the Soros-backed DA. It's a disaster.
Donald Trump would certainly like to respond to Stormy's racy testimony, but he can't. That's because of the gag order that the judge says could result in jail time the next time he breaks it. Speaking of which, some in the liberal press can't help but envision what prison would look for from the former president. Watch.
This is not a mugshot. This is jail. And Donald Trump is terrified. You've got to believe, just by his issues with odors and smells.
The idea that Donald Trump actually would want to go to jail is ridiculous. He doesn't even like to stay in a hotel.
I think to make a point, to prove a point, put him in the clink. Oh, why not? Put him in the clink over there.
I don't want this to sound like I'm doing wishful thinking.
Yes.
But which prison would be best? I'm going to give you, Michael. Well, that's what I got. Number one, I'm okay if he goes to Alcatraz and they reopen it. What about Guantanamo Bay?
Okay, Jonathan Turley, thank you for being here again. Take us through this whole situation today.
Well, it was a bizarre situation because you had the defense tell the judge, this is going to happen if you put her on the stand with these broad parameters. It happened. And then the judge said, well, I may ask the jury to forget that it happened. And how are they going to forget that? It's not like you're asking them to forget some CPA's testimony about a notation in a ledger, right? And the troubling thing about this is that they lit a dumpster fire in this courtroom, and the defense asked for the mistrial, and the judge blamed the defense attorneys. And so I can only imagine standing there, and it must have been difficult not to say, I'm sorry, Judge, I'm the attorney that told you not to put her on the stand. I told you that you had too broad of parameters. And then when she did exactly as we suggested you did, you ignored that I have a standing objection to her saying anything in this trial. And so at the end of the day, Merchant got what all of us expected. Now, this idea that he can make this cat walk backwards is going to be rather difficult. You know, you've already, had this witness go into every detail. Including whether the president wears boxer shorts, that he had Old Spice in his bathroom. I mean, that's the level of absurd detail. I mean, we've all seen Greg's office with the gallon of Old Spice, but we don't mention it. But this is a show. But the fact that you would bring in that type of just completely immaterial detail shows how this judge was a mere pedestrian in his courtroom. And then at the end of all of that, to say, God, he literally said, it would have been better if that testimony didn't occur. And you're just sort of looking around like, you were the one that allowed this testimony to occur.
And I can't imagine being someone on the jury. I did read at one point, one of the reporters said, or I think it was one of our producers said that one of the jurors, a woman, had her head in her hands going, I cannot believe that we're having to listen to this.
Interesting. I'm glad to hear that. I wish it were in the courtroom. In fact, I'll be in the courtroom on Thursday and Friday. But look, The testimony that we heard today has absolutely nothing to do with the indictment. The testimony was irrelevant. It was prejudicial. It was not probative. It has nothing to do with how something was filed and how reimbursement to Cohen and whether it was correctly entered in the books. Period. End of the story. This judge saying to the defense attorney, well, you know, you didn't object enough. Look, any judge worth his or her salt, if you see something happening that is going to jeopardize the conviction, you yourself, sua sponte, on your own, will say, I'm going to stop the line of questioning right here. And then what you do is you call the parties to the bench and you say to the defense, to the prosecution, you are moving too close to reversible error here. Let's trim the offenses here a little bit. But Mershon, and I heard one person say on Fox, oh, he's a really experienced judge. He's a fool. He's not an experienced judge the way he's doing this. For him to say, please keep your answers short and listen to the questions while she is laying out what could be another prosecutable offense against Donald Trump that I'm not even going to mention, he is allowing reversible error in. He should have said, I'm going to strike that testimony. There should have been a curative instruction right then and there on the spot. But instead he says, well, I'll think about it, make a request at the time of charge, at the time of my charge. No. And then he sends the jury out and lays out the prosecutor for allowing this testimony in. This judge is either all in on convicting Trump, irrespective of whether it's going to be reversed, and I would bet my house this will be reversed by the Court of Appeals.
One of the things, though, that Greg, is that even if it is reversed, it wouldn't be until after the election. And what they are hoping for is a conviction so that Joe Biden can say in all of the ads and at the debate, oh, well, you're talking about a convicted felon.
What are the odds that an incident from 15 to 20 years ago would now become the object of litigation just months before an election? It's kind of a strange coincidence that the media doesn't really seem to focus on. That might be one question that would make you go, maybe this is political. I got to say, I love how CNN anchors blush and are shocked by pajamas and spanking. I mean, one of your employees pleasured himself on Zoom. You kept him on there. One of your producers, I think, was arrested for grooming kids. Yep. It's funny watching the media act like Puritans, right? Go to any media event, and it's like the Playboy mansion with ugly people. So it's just, they got the paws all over you. They're drunk. This is porn for sexless Democrats. Listening to testimony from an aging sex worker about Trump in a courtroom, you have everything. It's almost as erotic as listening to NPR while feeding grapes to your cat with myocarditis. The court case is really about convincing jurors that Trump is a bad guy for sleeping around. It's not about breaking laws, because no laws were broken. If Trump were a woman, the prosecution would be accused of slut-shaming. Huh? That's quite a theory. Again, he's not charged for the hush money. It's not about Stormy. It's about an accounting method for a legal payment in a business record that had no known category. That's it. What Stormy has to do with it is nothing. All that is frosting for the media.
Jesse Waters, give you last word.
Fact check. Trump does not use Old Spice. He has his own deodorant line. It's called Success. Someone gifted it to me at a book signing. And Turley, cats can walk backwards. I don't know about that analogy. Michael Avenatti dropped a bombshell from behind bars today, and take it for what it's worth. I'm just conveying what he said. He made an allegation that a producer wanted to do a documentary on Stormy Daniels and called him on a recorded line and said, would you like to participate? And he said, well, I don't know. Is she getting paid for the documentary? Because if she is, it's probably not fair and I'm not going to do it. And the producer says, yes, she is going to get paid for the documentary, but that's because she owes Trump hundreds of thousands of dollars in judgment. And she's just trying to make ends meet. But she has a way of concealing the money from Trump's lawyers. What they're going to do is, and what they have done, Michael says, is that they have optioned the rights to her book. They've taken the proceeds and set up a fraudulent LLC under Stormy's daughter's name, and that's how they're going to hide the money from Trump's lawyers.
Amazing.
If this is true, then she's guilty of bad record keeping and fraud. So I don't know if that's going to be pursued by Alvin Bragg. Probably not. But Trump is barreling towards breaking this gag order. I don't see within the next 48 hours how he does not do it. You're saying you can't criticize the government? That's what the judge is saying. You cannot criticize the government, the court, or the prosecution, let alone an American citizen. This guy's the Republican nominee for president. Not only he can't criticize the government, he's not inciting violence. He's not making false statements. He has an opinion about the government that's being controlled by his political rival that's prosecuting him. Now, if you can't criticize the government or have an opinion about the government, then you're not in America. And that's insane. And we also just found out this guy, Colangelo, the lead prosecutor, who was Biden's number 3 guy at the Department of Justice, was a paid consultant for the Democrat National Committee. And he's an Obama donor. So Obama donating DNC consultant, former Biden prosecutor, is leading the charge in this courtroom. And the Democrats say this isn't political. And maybe you guys can answer this question for me. How are they only giving Trump's lawyers 24 hours to prepare for these witnesses?
It's unheard of. It is unheard of.
I need at least 5 hours to prepare for this show.
And you don't even do it.
It's unfair. I don't see how they can get away with sandbagging them like that.
Well, we could go on and on. The court will not be in session tomorrow, but then Thursday, Friday. Yeah, I know you're bummed about that.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.